All right. Good afternoon, everyone. It is December the 9th, and we're going to get on to some Bible reading for today. I'm glad to see you here. Let's go, Lord, in prayer. Dear Lord, thank you for this day, and thank you for everything that you've given us. Help us understand the reading of your word as we're going through the book of Isaiah. Amen. Pray. Amen. The book of Isaiah is pretty tough. It has to do with a lot of prophecy, and dealing with that is, I know there's a whole bunch of conjectures, stuff that we could see out of it. And it's important to really focus on what it's saying. And that's what I'm trying to do as we go through this. It's difficult, though. So let's keep on going. We're going to be in chapter 15, the burden of Moab. So Isaiah shifted from looking at Babylon. Now, Babylon is supposed to be rebuilt here in the future. Isaiah's focusing on Babylon was the capital. It was a huge capital. And that's what Isaiah is focusing on. In the last chapter, 14, he really focused on Lucifer being the leader of Babylon. Now, there was a king in its place, but Isaiah got a word from God to speak through the actual power coming from Babylon, and that was Lucifer, Satan himself. And we can go through that, but it's important that we keep going. And today we're going to chapter 15. Isaiah is going to switch places here and focus on Moab. The burden of Moab. For in a night, Ar of Moab is laid to waste and brought to nothing. For in a night, Ker of Moab is laid waste and brought to nothing. They have gone up to Belith and to Dibon, to the high places to weep. Moab wails over Nebo and over Mebedah. Baldness is on their heads. Every beard is cut off. Now, this is not the fact that they're actually bald, like me over here, but the fact that this is what the Jewish people did when they were in mourning. They would shave their head and cut off their beard, which was a huge deal. You just don't cut off your beard for anything. And to cut off your beard meant it was a big deal what you're going through right now. In their streets, they clothed themselves in sackcloth, and that's also what they did. They would probably get the ruddiest garments they had and put them on. In their streets and in their housetops, everyone wails, weeping abundantly. Heshbon cries out with Elihah. Their voice is heard from Jahaz. Therefore, the armed men of Joab cry aloud. Their souls tremble within them. My heart cries for Moab. Her nobles flee to Zaor, to Eligah, Shemashai, for they go up the ascent of Lilith with weeping. For on the way to Harabanam, they raise up a cry of destruction. For the waters of Nimrin will be desolate, for the grass has withered away and the tender grass fails. There is no green thing, therefore they will carry away the abundance they have gotten and which they have stored up over the brook of the willows. For the cry has gone around the borders of Moab, is wailing to Egathim, and is wailing to Beer Elithim. For the waters of Dimnon are full of blood, for I will bring yet more on Dimon, a line on those of Moab who escape and on the remnant of the land. Isaiah talks about the forces that were like they are in the future. For instance, the United States is a big country, and it's one of the leading countries. Let's say America fell for some reason. I would still talk about it if a new country came about and started being the dominant one. I would say it's like America. And this is what he's saying for Moab, and this is what he's saying for Babylon. Babylon was the big capital back then. And he's saying Babylon is going to fall one day. He is living in a time where the Assyrians are big. This is the big capital. Babylon is but a whisper in the distance. Babylon is going to take over the Assyrians and become a big capital empire for many, many years. In fact, that's where Marcus Aurelius, I believe. I think that's what his name is. Anyway, the guy that was from Greece and conquered all these things, that's where he died. He conquered Babylon and made it the capital of where he wanted to be. That's how big it was. So Isaiah is talking about Babylon in the future because it was a huge empire, but also he's saying that it's going to be rebuilt. So let's watch out for that. Verse 6, chapter 16, send the lambs for the rulers of the land from Shelah to the wilderness, to the mountain of the daughter of Zion, for it will be that as wandering birds, as the scattered nest, so will be the daughters of Moab be at the fords of the Arnon. Give counsel, execute justice, make your shade like the night of the middle of the noonday. Hide the outcast, don't betray the fugitive. Lay out the outcast, dwell within you, for as the Moab, be a hiding place for him from the face of the destroyer. For the extortionist is brought to nothing. Destruction ceases. The oppressors are consumed out of the land. A throne will be established in loving kindness. One will sit on it in truth in the tent of David, judging, seeking justice, and swift to do righteousness. We have heard from the pride of Moab that he is very proud, even for his arrogance. His pride and his wrath, his boastings are nothing. Therefore Moab will wail for Moab. Everyone will wail. He will mourn for the raisins, cakes of Kir Haredesh, utterly stricken. For the fields of Heshbon languish with the vine of Sibmah. The lords of the nations have broken down its choice branches, which reached even to Jazer, which wandered into the wilderness. Its shoots were spread abroad. They passed over the sea. Therefore I will weep with the weeping of Jazer, for the vine of Sibmah. I will water you with my tears, Heshbon and Elamah. For you, on your summer fruits and on your harvest the battle shouts has fallen. Gladness is taken away and joy out of the fruitful field, and in the vineyards there will be no singing, neither joyful noise. Nobody will tread out wine in the presses. I have made the shouting stop. Therefore my heart sounds like a harp of Moab, and my inward parts for Kir Heres. It will happen that when Moab presents himself, when he wearies himself on the high place and comes to the sanctuary to pray, he will not prevail. From what I understand, Moab was a nation going against the tribe of the southern tribe of Israel, called the house of Judah. And he's saying he is not going to prevail against it. Verse 13, this is the word that Yahweh spoke concerning Moab in the past time. But now Yahweh has spoken, saying, within 3 years, as a worker bound by contract would count them, the glory of Moab shall be brought into contempt with all his great multitude, and the remnant will be very small and feeble. Moab is trying to be the best they can be. And God is saying, no, you're not, because you're going against the plans that I have for Israel. And Israel is my chosen people, and you're not going to prevail against them. In fact, since you're going to do that, your nation's going to fall. Let's go to chapter 17, the burden of Damascus. Behold, Damascus is taken away from being a city, and it will be a Tunius heap. The cities of Aner are forsaken. They will be for flocks, which shall lie down, and no one shall take them afraid. The fortress shall cease from Ephraim, and the kingdom from Damascus, and the remnant of Syria. They will be as glory of the children of Israel, says Yahweh of armies. It will happen in the day that the glory of Jacob will be made, and the fatness of his flesh will become lean. It will be like when the harvester gathers the wheat, and his arm reaps the grain. Yes, it will be like one who gleans grain in the valley of Rephaim. Yet gleanings will be left there, like the shaking of an olive tree, or two of an olive tree, 2 or 3 olives in the top of the uttermost bough. 4 or 5 in the uttermost branches of the fruitful tree, says Yahweh, the God of Israel. And that day people will look to their Maker, and their eyes will have respect for the Holy One of Israel. They will not look to the altars, the work of their hands, neither shall they respect that which their fingers have made, either the Asherosh poles or in the incense altars. And that day their strong cities will be like the forsaken places in the woods and on the mountaintops, which are forsaken from before the children of Israel. And it will be a desolation. For you have forgotten the God of your salvation, you have not remembered the rock of your strength. Therefore you plant pleasant plants and set out foreign seedlings. In the day of your planting you hedge it, In the morning you make your seed blossom, but the harvest flees away in the day of grief and of desperate sorrow. He's saying that they just left him, and they wanted to plant a harvest. They want to see fruit. They want to bear fruit. But then they left him, and they're wondering where their fruit is that they planted. And he's saying, this is not my fault. You left me. Verse 12. Ah, that the uproar of many people who roar like the roaring of the seas, and the rushing of nations that rush like the rushing of mighty waters. The nations will rush like the rushing of many waters, but he will rebuke them, and they will flee far off, and will be chased like the chaff of the mountains before the wind, and like the whirling dust before the storm. At evening, behold terror. Before the morning, they are no more. This is the portion of those who plunder us, and the lot of those who rob us. Chapter 18. We're going to go to verse 7 here. Ah, the land of the rustling wind of the wind, which is beyond the rivers of Ethiopia, that send the ambassadors by the sea, even in vessels of papyrus on the water, saying, Go, you swift messengers, to the nations tall and smooth, to people awesome from their beginning onward, the nation that measures out the treadwind and treads down. Those lands the rivers divide, all you inhabitants of the world, and you dwellers of the earth. When the banner is lifted up on the mountains, look. When the trumpet is blown, listen. For Yahweh said to me, I will be still, and I will see in the dwelling place like clear heat and sunshine, like a cloud of dew in the heat of harvest. For before the harvest, when the blossom is over and the flower becomes a ripening grape, he will cut off the spring from pruning hooks, and will cut down and take away the spreading branches. They will be left together for the ravenous birds of the mountains and for the animals of the earth. The ravenous birds will eat them in the summer, and all the animals of the earth will eat them in the winter. And that time a present will be brought to Yahweh of the armies from the people tall and smooth, even from the people awesome from the beginning onwards, a nation that measures out and treads down, whose land the rivers divide, to the places of the name of Yahweh of armies, Mount Zion. There is a lot going on in this. Too much to get into. A lot of people say that he mentions Ethiopia, and it could be that it's a judgment on Ethiopia. And a lot of commentators talk about, no, it's actually referring to the United States. And both could be correct. This is why it's important to study the book of Isaiah more thoroughly. We're just reading it, and we're getting the taste and the flavor of it. And we're saying, well, it seems to be jumbled around. It seems to be going from here to here, and it's talking about Ethiopia. It's meaning United States, may or may not. It's talking about Babylon, but it's not talking about Babylon. It's talking about a Babylon in the future. And just reading it, we're getting the flavor of it. We're getting you accustomed to the fact that this is a complicated book, and Isaiah was a prophet that spoke about the future. And he also spoke about the spiritual world. In the last chapter, 14, he talked about how Lucifer fell. This is a complicated book, and we're reading it to get your taste buds into it. But it also needs to be noted that a more in-depth reading and study needs to be done on this book if you are not understanding it. The last thing we're going to do today is the book of Proverbs. Proverbs 23, verse 12. Apply your heart to instruction and your ears to the words of knowledge. And that's exactly what I said. Apply your heart to instruction. You know, you can sit there and say, well, I don't believe in God. Have you read the whole Bible? Do you know what's inside it? If you have read the whole Bible and you say, I don't believe in God, fair enough. Go your own way. I don't believe it's the right way, but you can go your own way. At least get into it and read it. If you find out that you still don't believe it, that's fine. You now have what's the word I'm looking for? You now have my, not, I guess you could say blessing, even though it's not a blessing. You now have my blessing, to go out and not believe it. At least you read it. And turn your ears to the words of knowledge. And this is exactly what Isaiah is. You have to study it to understand it. You just can't read it. And it's unfortunate that this is a daily Bible reading, because I would love to get more in depth in this. With that, let's go to Lord in prayer. Dear Lord, thank you for this day, and thank you for everything you've given us. Bring back my words, because I seem to be doing that a lot. I don't know what I'm talking about. It's half the time. Bring back my words and help me understand what you mean in this book. It's hard to understand even for me, and I would love to learn more about it. So please give me understanding so that I may know what the future holds for us. Be with the people who are listening, that they may see that this is a complicated book and it deserves our respect, that we must learn from it. Please be with us today and help us to go out and hear from you and tell us what you want us to do. In your name I pray. Amen. Thank you for being with me today as we're diving into the book of Isaiah. It's tough. It's tough. But I will see you tomorrow, and love you guys. I'll see you later. Bye.